You can get these for about $5–10 from an Army surplus store, probably less if you know someone. And on the back piece here, goes all the way around. Okay then. Now, gotta invert the hat here. We're back to the right way. And from here, you can try to get it smoothed out as best you can. Got a little bit extra. It's not fitting in right. You can tear it off. Once you got your extras taken out, got her in. Now, for the top piece here, this is where it gets a little tricky. Generally, the side protection, I feel, is not as important as the top. Because if it is something that's off-world or in the atmosphere or above the atmosphere, like a satellite or perhaps an alien transmission, it's got to come down, doesn't it? So realistically, the shielding on the top of your head should probably be the strongest. Take your hat, invert the hat upside down here, so you know where your markings are. And then I'm going to get me a Sharpie. I'm going to draw a line around it. You can mark it that way, but I'm going to use a Sharpie felt to mark it so you can see exactly where the hat line is. Now, for tracing the Sharpie on there, you want to make sure that you got the hat on in a good location. Since it's a black hat, just draw it all around the external. There we go. That's perfect. Take that. So that gives you your general outline of what you're working with. Take your scissors. You just cut up to there. That's all you're doing here. Incidentally, this same material will work with copper as well. There was a company called Shieldworks, who came up with a Mind Shield cap that was for sale for a limited period of time back in the mid-90s. They also made bed sheets, curtains, everything just to stop the radio pollution. So what you do then is you fold it in on the line, doubling up on your protection and retaining shape. The crease, some people would say, oh, well, you know, you're not getting total coverage because there's a separation between the hat connects to the top. Yes, I suppose that is argued that we could pull the entire liner out and do that, but these people do not think forward to the things like ventilation. Your head still has to breathe, and if you wrap the whole thing in tinfoil, it's going to be really hard to adjust your temperature. So the crease there provides radio protection because there's only about less than a millimeter worth of space, and that flexes depending on how you wear your hat. Yet it does provide for air movement and ventilation, which is very important. If you don't have ventilation, your brain cooks. You don't want to cook it from radio waves, you sure don't want to cook it from heat either. So we got this top, this is your top here when done. And depending on how you want to do it, you insert it into the hat as such. So then this goes in the top of the hat here. Bear in mind that it is a liner, you do have a lot of space here to work with, so try to keep it as gentle as you can. There we go. And then you just push it down and through, and the hat should do the rest of the work for you. And what you're left with is a perfectly good WOG brain shield. Helpful for if you were ever doing any kind of UFO hunting or things of that nature. And not only will your friends and coworkers be surprised that you happen to have a stylish and shapely tinfoil hat, imagine how surprised the aliens are going to be. My name's Sean Kennedy, and I am the fucking man. When I was a young man, I was taking the SkyTrain here, and this wasn't a parking lot at that time. It's just a construction site. There's a lot of different licensing and fees that stopped the construction from going ahead. I don't know why it didn't go ahead. All I knew is that as I took the SkyTrain, there was a large field of lime. And right where I'm standing right now, I looked at the side of that SkyTrain as we were parked there, and I saw that there was a man in a crumpled ball lying in this field of lime. And it was at rush hour when I saw him. So everyone else in the SkyTrain saw him too, because there's not much else to look at. At that time, there was no racking or rails or anything like that to stop. You could just look down and see this field. With a guy in dark clothing on a field of white lime, it was really apparent to see that there was this man crumpled in the middle of this construction site. No one else on the SkyTrain said anything. No one even cared. And since it was rush hour, it was like I was the only one who could see this man lying down there. No one else could see it, you know, and all the other trains that went by, they must have saw it too, because there's nothing else to look at. It's a white field with one man crumpled in the middle of the field. When I said something, I stood up and I went, there's a guy down there. Everybody looked at me. And they gave me that kind of look you'd probably get from parents when you told their 4-year-old there's no such thing as Santa Claus. That was the same kind of hateful look that they gave me when I pointed to the guy down there lying in the lime. I jumped off the SkyTrain, I ran down, there was a fence around this place at that time. I cleared that fence in no time flat, and as I came over to him, you know, I said, I went into my first aid drills, I said, buddy, can you hear me? Can you hear me? And when I came in and I grabbed him and I pulled him back, but he'd been dead for a while. And it's the smell, you know, of dead people. That's why they put lime on him, I guess. I guess it keeps the smell down. But when I pulled on him, it kind of opened everything up, and he kind of rocked back a little bit. like it was a mannequin or something. You know, the rigor mortis had set in. I went back to the SkyTrain and was very excited. Reported it to the attendant there, and police came down, took my name, rank, shoe size. I never heard nothing about it. The cops didn't know who he was, and he didn't have any ID, so he died here. And hundreds of people drove by him, and nobody cared. No one even knew his name. And it was a total stranger who jumped off of a train, a child, really, at the time, who came up and said, you know, are you okay? Who checked on him. So that made me the only one out of a few thousand people to do that, to witness this man's passing, to care about a man who'd been dead for a few days. I don't know what kind of a guy he was. Maybe he was a drug addict, maybe he was a thief. Who knows? Maybe he deserved to die here, alone, in a lime field. I can't imagine anyone who deserved that, but maybe, you know, he had a bad life or something and made some bad calls. But whoever he was, he profoundly affected my life. Because as of that moment, I made the decision that I was never gonna die and be forgotten in some field somewhere, while hundreds of people walked by and nobody even cared. And that's a choice. All you gotta do is act. All you gotta do is do something and make sure that they'll mark your passing. That's all you gotta do. So, if I could be anything, I'd like to be a monument for those people who get forgotten and fall by the wayside. Because that man who died here, he changed my life. My name's Sean Kennedy, and I am the fucking man.